Hi, I'm Rebecca Palmer, and this is my EntreLife. And today we have Lisa McGrath joining us from Cavea Studios to talk about her EntreLife. Hi, Lisa.
Hello and good morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to have you. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm a mom of two. I live in Toronto. I'm married to a wonderful man who is a great support for an entrepreneur's life, to be quite frank. The business that I have helps a lot of moms who do not want to return to work to enter into entrepreneur life themselves. But that's not who we only serve, but it seems to be who finds us most often.
Wonderful. And then tell me really quickly what Cavea does. What does Cavea Studio do, or how can you help the women entrepreneurs through your business?
Well, primarily the functions are building a brand, which is not the aesthetics, but the actual messaging, the vision, the mission, the differentiator, all that really great foundational stuff. We also do the marketing stuff. So now you know who you are, you know who your client is. How do we present ourselves online? Who do we engage? How do we engage? And then we work also with all the design stuff. So you need a logo, you need a website. Those are the basic functions that we do. But along with those functions, when a mom comes to us or any woman comes to us or any person comes to us and says, I want to launch a business, we actually are set up very nicely to take them from their idea to launch and all the processes along the way. Do you need an accountant? Do you need a lawyer? Do you need to understand about a CRM? Like all the things that they hadn't thought about, we've thought about it. We've thought about it because we've had to build it for ourselves, but we've also thought about it because we've done it for client after client after client. Everyone comes to us with a great idea and wants to launch something amazing, but there are certain processes they have to go through, and we teach them all of that. So at the end of it, they feel pumped, they feel ready, and they're out the door, and they've got a good footing to grow from.
Mhm. Now, I notice that your team is actually all women. Now, is that by design, or is that just sort of an accidental happening?
No, actually, it speaks a lot to where we are seeing women turning away from your typical job post-child and entering into their own, whether it's a freelancer, contractor, or launching a full-fledged business. So all of these women are all moms. And like myself, they've all been stay-at-home moms for quite some time, but we've got such great values still within us.
Hmm.
And so when I knew I wanted to build Cavea, I knew I couldn't be everything to everyone. Having a great understanding about all the different things that go into growing and making a business is great, but being the expert in it, I'm not. So I have teamed up with these amazing moms who still have such great value and are willing to come in project by project and do their bit. So you get the best of them and they get to play where they're happiest. And so it's a win-win for everyone. So that's how it's turned out to be an all-female team.
That's wonderful. And there are so many of us who are moms who have felt that at times our skills have been undervalued once we become parents, or that we're not as important. But that's completely ridiculous, because we were business people first, or even if we weren't, we have amazing skills to share with people. So I love that you're giving that opportunity to other moms who have amazing skills and ideas to be able to come together and have a little bit more flexible work life.
Yeah, absolutely. It actually sings for me. My heart sings when I'm able to do that. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. It's one of the reasons I do what I do, because I have 4 kids at home. Okay, I have 2 at home and 2 growing ones, but still, it's a busy household. And I want to be able to have that little bit of extra flexibility while also helping those that need help.
Right.
Yes. So let's see. Tell me a little bit about some of the struggles you faced. You can tell it's Monday morning because I'm like all over the place. It's
It's Monday for all of us. Thank goodness you've given me some leeway to stumble.
yes.
Um, so the struggles I would say for myself and most commonly with other women in this position is finding time for yourself. You will bend over backwards for your clients and your business because you're passionate about it and you want to build a great reputation. You will, of course, bend over backwards for your family, for your children, whatever they need. but you won't often put yourself in the same category. So there's the work and the family that are often at par because your heart's centered on both of them, but yourself falls by the wayside. So I'd say that would be my biggest struggle, would be finding time for myself. So I've been with building this business now for 3 years. And over those 3 years, I've learned to carve out time for my book club. I've learned to carve out time for just peaceful walks on my own, just to clear my head. Exercise, definitely. I don't always get to put in as much as I want, but I find time every day to do something, even if it's a 15-minute walk, because the health as well is something that we sort of take for granted. We've had some struggles in my family with eating and allergies, and I've become quite the amazing chef at finding workarounds for different things for food elimination. So that has been a great joy for me because I do love spending time in the kitchen. And now that I'm forced to, I try to find the joy in that as well. So just finding joy for yourself, for your own personal interests, making time to do an art show, whatever it is. But look at the calendar within the month, I would say, and pluck out a few evenings even, lunch dates, wherever you can squeeze it in to sort of take yourself away from both the mom life and the business life and just be you life.
For sure. And we need to remember that in every day of our life, we're not just mom, we're not just a founder or business owner. We are also us. So the more
Mhm.
we can bring that out and make sure that we're satisfying that portion of our life, the more happier we will be and everybody around us will be, and the more productive we're going to be.
Absolutely.
So let's see, what else are we going to talk a little bit about? Um, well, you mentioned that you notice a lot of common things about women business owners. What are some of the common problems you find are repeating over and over as you talk to women clients?
Mostly to begin with, when they come to us wanting to launch their business, they often won't have thought the business through from a business planning perspective. So they won't have any idea of how much things cost. They won't have any idea of, oh, I'm gonna be a nutritionist, for an example, and I'm gonna serve moms. Well, that's pretty wide range. So let's break that down. And even if you were gonna do that, how would you find those revenue streams? Like the numbers part of it is a real struggle for women
Mm-hmm.
to understand that you don't just get to do what you want to do because you love it and you're great at it, but you actually have to put some common sense numbers
Mm-hmm.
to the business part of it as well, because business isn't just doing what you do, it's running a business is completely different. And so I find that it's a common thing with women. They don't come with a business plan, with that business head. As well as when I ask them, how much do you want to make in a year? Because of my sales background, I can't let go of the numbers. I need to know that they're putting in money and to see a return on that. And so we often do talk about revenue streams and sales and so forth. And they're often unprepared. And so I've got to actually coax them into thinking about numbers. I've got to coach them into thinking, if at the end of the year you look back and you're pretty happy with what it is that you've done, what did you afford in your life? Was it a family vacation? Was it that new kitchen reno? To sort of put life goals for them in perspectives that they can attach value, like financial value, to that, so they can talk about numbers. Um, that would be one of the biggest things that I find. It's a real hurdle for them to treat the business as a business and not just fulfilling their need to help others through whatever,
Mm-hmm.
fill in the blank.
And do you find that they forget to do the customer research to make sure their product or service actually is needed by the community? Are they
Yeah,
just throwing ideas out there and saying, oh, well, this is a great idea, and not realizing that even if it is a great idea, people are still not going to adopt it?
100%. I mean, the customer, developing their target clients as a persona is a huge part of
Mm-hmm.
what we do. And that's where the big dig in for us is, it's two pieces actually when we're building a brand. It is defining them as a business, yes. But more importantly, defining who the client is. You often know who you are, but you don't know who the client really is and what
Mm-hmm.
motivates them to buy. And so, and where to find them. They wouldn't have done any of that research for sure. The other part is separating themselves from their pack. So there are a lot of positions that are getting quite saturated right now. You know, a lot of it has to do with care, whether it's nutrition or whether it's health, like physical health and whatnot. And so they're seeing other people who are launching businesses in that, and they're interested in it, and they go and they get certified, and that's great. But they haven't figured out what makes them different from everyone else. They haven't been able to define that and articulate that. And therefore, because it's so saturated, how does anyone find you amongst the rest? And how do they know as a client, as a customer, that you're the right fit for them?
Exactly. You need to be able to find out how you stand out and why people need to come to you instead of your competitor. You and I both work with new businesses, with people starting businesses. And people who are working with me are going to be different than the people who are working with you. They're going to find us differently. We're both going to be able to help them, but we both have different ways to do it.
100%, yeah.
Yes, yes. And I know a lot of people get really worried about competition and secretive and everything else, but I feel one of the best things we can do for each other is collaborate and share with each other, share with other people in our field and talk with them and do what we can to help each other instead of trying to keep everything all secret. Because you know what? A lot of the times we all have similar problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, what makes your business different than my business is you and me.
Mhm.
You know, we
Exactly.
are the different drivers. Working with you will be different than working with me. And they may
Mhm.
come away with exactly the same information, but they will enjoy their sessions more if they're connected with us personally.
Yes. And it comes all down to personality as well. Some people want to learn from really serious people. Other people like to learn from someone who's a little more casual. Uh, Maybe you prefer to learn with a female versus a male. There are so many different things to take into consideration. Not every person is going to be your client. And I think that's where a lot of businesses starting out go wrong. They think everyone is their client, and they forget that they need to niche down. They need to set a more specific audience so they can concentrate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And to build on that is when we get to the point of the messaging and the voice and tone. Like you
Mm-hmm.
say, if you're more serious, if you're more fun, it matters. And that personality of your brand should come through because that's what it would be like
Mm-hmm.
to work with you. And so when people are reading your text on your website or watching your videos, they get a sense of that. And so it needs to be looked at. It needs to be considered. If you are going to be really casual in your language, if you're going to use swear words in your language, if you're going to have all the proper, terms and really textbook writing as opposed to a conversational way of communicating. And so definitely the messaging, the voice and tone are
Mm-hmm.
not to be taken lightly. They do speak to who it is that they would be working with. And it needs to be accurate and authentic to you because if your website reads one way, but
Mm-hmm.
then your videos or meeting you in person is another way. It's going to
Yeah.
cause confusion and it's going to cause mistrust because now they're thinking, well, you're not being authentic somewhere along the line.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I can't really trust you.
The
And
biggest
that trust
example
is
I
taken.
see in that is the real estate agent that gives you a card with their picture on it, yet the picture is 20, 30 years old.
Oh my gosh, right? I've seen billboards like that. And I know these agents around my neighborhood. And I'm thinking, lady, that was a good 18, 20 years ago. I think you need to update because you're going to show up at my door. I'm not going to recognize you all right at once.
Exactly. Yes, you may have looked amazing in that shot, but that's not what you look like today.
No.
So,
No.
so I wanted to ask you a little bit about advice. What advice would you give to the next generation?
The next generation. Oh, geez, I'm a little too old to think about the next generation. No.
What
You know
advice
what?
would
I
you
mean,
give to your
I'm raising
kids?
kids. Sorry?
What advice would you give to your kids when
Yeah, I'm
they
raising
are
raising
older?
my kids for sure. And I do try to show them how to be a feminist, to be quite frank. That for me is a big thing. Equality is a big thing. Um, The lack of competition and the more collaboration is something that I want them to understand. I want them to see that every person has value.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can fill your world with people who align to your own personal values, then you would have created something that you can feel comfortable in and content in. Uh, as far as business goes, it's to understand what it is that you're really good at and follow that through to be educated as much as possible in it. And then take that to wherever you need to go, whether it means that you're needing to take that to employment or to launching your own business, but understand fully what each one of those decisions then means for you. Not everybody is born to be an entrepreneur. My husband and I are, and so they see a lot of that in us, but my kids may not be. And the next person who comes out may not be. But if you connect yourself with somebody who is, perhaps they can carry the ball and you can act as support. And there's value and there's honor in that as well.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Now, one other question about advice. What advice would you give the current generation to help with the next generation? We all right now have our own ways of doing things. We're noticing problems we have. So, how can we help the upcoming youth? And I think you answered some of those questions already, but what in particular do you think you could do to help new graduates coming out of school?
Well, I think our generation now, we need to let go of the biases that we already hold so dear and that we've come up with and open ourselves fully. We need to let go of a lot of judgment. Just because someone does it differently than you doesn't mean it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It means it's their choice. And we need to start honoring each other's choices. Everyone makes the best decision they can. If you're uninformed and you feel you can fill in some of those gaps, you know,
Mm-hmm.
ask permission, may I share something with you? Instead of shoving it down someone's throat. I mean, I grew up in a generation where you did a lot of listening and you did a lot of, you do what you're told sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to see us move into, hey, you know what, this has worked for me. It might work for you, and offer it up. And collaborate more and not see that we need to be against each other for us both to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
There's respect that needs to be built. And there's education that needs to come up. I mean, I think it's really sad that I see a lot of women right now who are struggling so much to understand numbers, to understand tech. And these are important things that maybe they weren't exposed to, and that our next generation, the girls, need to be exposed to. We need to understand that they get to have all of these advantages and all of these understandings, and that will level the playing field. I mean, I have boys, and they don't see at this point any difference between boys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
They value all of their relationships equally. And having a mom who works and they know what I do for a living, they think it's amazing. They think it's really important. They're really proud of me. And I think that's important. I once had a mom come to me who wanted to try to think of a way to monetize her business. And when we got to the conversation about numbers and whatnot, she didn't really have her head wrapped around it, but I could see that she was struggling. So I was helping her out.
Mm-hmm.
And she paused at some point and she said to me, "It makes me so sad when my boys think that what I do for a living is just a hobby. It's not real. It doesn't matter. It doesn't earn any income, and therefore, what I do, the time that I spend what I spend my choose to spend my time on, doesn't have any value, and they minimize it."
Mm-hmm.
And she was so hurt. It was incredible, and it was so sad, and we had to work through that. But that's what I want to have change for the next generation for
Mm-hmm.
sure. And I want us to see that right now with each other and not judge each other on anything, and find a way to just honor each other and let each other be and help when we're asked to help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now it's International Women's Day this week. So I wanted to ask you, who in your life, who female, has inspired you? Who has really given you that drive to do something, or really made you admire them for something they've did?
Mm. You know,
And
it's
it
interesting.
can be real or imaginary. It it can be a cartoon, anything. Like, tell me, what has inspired you?
I think since I was really young, there is something that I always wanted to be or wanted to do. And articulating it has always been difficult for me along the way. But now I feel I know what that is. And so I look around at the women that I see who are writing books and doing amazing things. There is somebody named, what is her name? I can't think of it now. Jana is her first name, and I can't remember her last name. But she has launched the Period Purse. Have you heard of it? The Period.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, amazing thing. I mean, her story. She's driving along the street and sees a woman, a homeless woman, asking for money, and really, and she, for whatever reason, I think she was digging in her purse. I can't remember how exactly it goes, but it came to her, what does this woman do when it's her menstrual period?
Hmm.
She's homeless and she has nothing, and so she started the Period Purse. It's an
Yes.
incredible endeavor where she basically takes people who donate purses and fill it with menstrual products and donates them to homeless people, which is an incredible thing. And where it's gone and where it's taken off to. I see people who do that, who have
Hmm.
an idea that came out of thin air, it seems, and they build something real and incredible. And so my heroes aren't Oprah and Ellen DeGeneres.
Hmm.
My heroes are those women who have an idea and somehow found a way through whatever means to make
Hmm.
it happen. That to me is incredible. And so when I work with women who want to launch and do something, it fills me in such a way that, yeah, I just light up.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm inspired by the same type of people. I'm not going to tell you Oprah inspires me. She has did amazing things, but the people who have inspired me are people like the teen mom who was still student council president and doing cheerleading and everything else while raising a son in high school. I had a child in high school, but the things she was doing was amazing. She inspired me because she kept doing it. It's the everyday people who make a difference. One of the people who inspired me most, it was actually a mistaken belief. I heard her say something. I thought she was talking about a real baby and saw her up on stage, and I thought, you know what? I've got kids, and she's doing that because she has kids, and I can do it too. Turns out her baby was a dog. But it planted that seed. It put that moment in my head, and it allowed things to be possible that weren't possible before. So those are the people who inspire me. It's the women out there that are doing things we forget we are capable of. It's the ones going and challenging the norms. It's the ones that are really getting outside of what's expected of them and really making a difference. So, and then everyone who steps up, they inspire me so much. And that's one of the reasons that we do my EntreLife podcast, because by sharing your EntreLife, we're able to inspire others, because we're the ones that will inspire people even more so than Oprah. We're the ones that they can relate to more because we're doing it. We're here. We're real. We're not the millionaires on TV.
Absolutely.
Hmm. So now, one last question for the day. And I wanted you to tell me, what is your biggest failure and what lesson did you learn from it?
Mm. Not believing in myself earlier. Yeah.
Hmm.
This year I learned this year for the first time, perhaps I was living under a rock, that people were choosing a word for their year. Did you hear
Uh-huh.
about this? You probably are on top of it.
I think I chose a word.
Yeah.
Can't remember what it was, but.
No. So I heard that people were choosing a word to sort of inspire them for the year and their actions and their thoughts and so forth. And so I thought, yeah, I that sounds good to me. You know, that might help me actually focus a bit because I have a few things coming at me and you have to make these tough decisions. Not everything's going to be right, even though it seems tempting. And so I chose a couple of words. And one of them, I chose two words, and one of them is courage.
Mm-hmm.
Because I realized that as much as I was helping other people to be courageous and go after what they want and empower them and educate them on what they need to know, I was holding myself back
Mm-hmm.
because, and under a myriad of different excuses and, really great reasons and practical, this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. But at the end of the day, I had actually stopped saying yes. And a while ago, I was having a year after year of yes, where if something came to me, I would say it, but I was actually saying no to myself. So I wasn't giving myself the opportunities. I wasn't giving myself the invitations to follow
Mm-hmm.
through on things or to think things or believe things. And so this year was my breakout year for courage. And so, for instance, you had put in the question for the podcast to be a part of it, and I put my hand up, even
Yeah.
though I wasn't sure how it would fit or how it would work out. If I was a match for you or your audience, and what it is that you were looking for in content. But here I am, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Wonderful. And I feel everybody has something to share. And that is why I opened it up, because I know that everyone has a story and I want to hear those stories. Now, as you're talking about courage, do you find courage or belief in ourselves is something that women tend to have more trouble with than men?
Definitely, definitely. But often it comes from not knowing what it's at not knowing what you don't know. It's
Mm-hmm.
they don't yet know where to go. Um, and so once they have that, they get fueled up, but they do need support. They
Mm-hmm.
definitely need support along the way. They need encouragement along the way. So that's why you see there's also a big rise in mindset coaching for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people. So when we say we do business coaching, it's not mindset coaching. I mean, you're going to get pumped up just talking to us anyhow, and we'll coach you along on what it is that you need to do to build your business,
Mm-hmm.
the actual structure of the business building as opposed to the mindset. Because we do need to believe as a woman that we can do whatever is in our mind. But we also need to understand that we need to be educated in what we don't know, and that will bring power.
Wonderful. Yes. And you can do it. I know you can. And we should do a virtual high five right now for all those women. And reminder, high five, you're awesome.
Absolutely.
Yes. So
Yeah.
everyone out there, you're all capable of doing great things. So get
Mm-hmm.
out there and do it. Face your fears, be courageous, say yes to opportunities. So this has been my EntreLife with Lisa McGrath of Cavea Studios. And please look her up online if you need help with your branding, growth market strategy, and design. She and her team will take amazing care of you. And if you have any questions for me or any of our guests, please message us or email us. And that's it for today.
Sounds great. Thank you.